Welcome to episode 35 of the Free Spirit Academy podcast with Aliyah Washington. Free Spirit Academy is about you being fully you. My name is Randy Moss, and I'm an eating psychology coach and Kundalini yoga teacher, bringing you conversations about freedom. Largely from rigid diets and painful body image, but ultimately it's about the freedom to be yourself. This is about honoring our own bodies and our purest self-expression. Welcome to the podcast. Heads up, if you didn't catch last week's episode, this is a part 2, so I definitely suggest listening to part 1 first. And today we'll be diving right in where we left off, and these are some of the topics that we go into. We'll talk about the power of admitting when we just don't know everything that maybe we thought we knew, and at the same time, how not having all the answers doesn't equal being in pain all the time. The difference between surrender and apathy. Imagining your ideal body, not to manifest it somehow magically, but to experience a feeling of worthiness with which to move forward from. The difference between listening to your body from a place of pain and fear versus a place of worthiness. How you can actually begin to feel a little bit better before anything actually physically changes. A totally new perspective on what disease is, a totally new perspective on the state of humanity right now, the dangers of jumping into a cleansing or detox diet, and again, this might not be the perspective that you've heard before, and how binge eating isn't self-sabotage. I hope you enjoy the rest of this episode with Aliyah Washington.
When you know how the structure works, you can adjust yourself accordingly to get what you want. So this is what it really boils down to. What is enlightenment all about? Why do we want to be enlightened? What is the point of spirituality? Why are we trying to wake up? Why are we doing all this healing? Blah, 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 blah. Because we want to be happy.
Yes.
We want to be able to go out and do, be, and create what we know in our hearts we want to do, be, and create. It is that simple.
Yes. And to that, I think that it's totally normal to want that, like once I'm enlightened, I'm done, or there's going to be this end point. And I think that we want that when we're in a lot of pain.
Yes.
It seems like, oh, well, someday I'll just get it and this burden will be lifted.
Yes.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be pain forever. Because I think that it's like what, and for a period, it can be all that we know. You know, like all I know is I've been in pain, and now you're saying it never ends. But that's not what's being said.
No, that's the opposite of what I'm saying. So here's my story, right? So I'm in Thailand. I'm realizing I've got a lot of good things going, but my body is still miserable, blah, 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 blah. I realized I've been doing every diet, everything, all these modalities for like 10 years at that point. And I still felt like shit. And everything still hurt. And I was no closer in my mind to figuring this out. I was like, I still have no idea. Right? So the first thing was letting go of what I thought I knew. Okay? And that's why I think almost no one ever takes this journey. Because we're waiting for the aha moment of seeing truth before we will let go of the thing that we're doing that isn't working. But it always happens the other way. Okay, so what I did was I said, okay, I just don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm never going to figure this out. And I said, okay, I'm going to have to figure out how to be okay with myself, even if I never figure this out, if I just stay sick and in pain for the rest of my life. And I know that is like a hard thing to hear, right? Because nobody wants to feel like they're helpless and they're just going to be in pain forever. But for me, I had to just come to this moment of like falling on my knees and saying, okay, I don't know, right? I don't have it. I don't know what the answer is. I've tried everything that I know to do. And I've done all the research and I've done all the diets and I've done all the information that you can, whatever. And it didn't work for me. So maybe this is just it. And the irony is, in that moment of accepting that maybe that was just it and I just had no idea and I wasn't going to figure it out, I relaxed.
Yes.
And that is when the insights started to happen.
Yes.
So if anyone out there is listening and you're just trying so hard and you're doing everything you can do and you're pushing and you're forcing and you're learning and you're trying to improve yourself and you're just like doing everything right and it's not working, okay, number one, it's not you. You know that there's more. That's the thing in you that's correct. But right now, the theories that you've been taught, the things that you've been told are the way it should work. The truths that you hold as truth and as hope right now, that one day this is going to work, even though you've done it 100 million times and it's never worked. It's going to work one day because it was just me, right? This is part of the reason why we have to understand we hold on to the idea that we hope that it's our bodies that's broken. Because if it's not, our body is broken, it's the rule is wrong. That is so much less hopeful, right? We got to understand that. We are holding on to the hope that it's our body that's broken. Because if it's the body that's broken, that means at least we have the answer. And if we just keep pushing it, one day it's going to work.
Yeah, absolutely.
If the body isn't broken and all that we know just isn't right, all we have is, holy shit, I don't know anything.
Right.
I don't have a hope.
And I don't know how that lands for the people listening, but I know for me, to not know felt really scary because it felt
Yes.
like bringing in the word faith and growing up
Yes.
in a religious experience that wasn't so good. Like I didn't want to have to put
Yes.
faith in anything. I wanted
Yes.
I wanted to know.
Yes.
And it was just like you said, bringing it back to my experience and having to admit at some point, like I have tried everything I know how to do.
Yes.
I've
Yes.
tried absolutely everything and
Yes.
nothing else has worked. And that's just, it's honesty about your own experience. It's not having to believe in any God out there, anything. It's just kind of letting go.
Yes.
Letting go of what
Okay.
you've been holding on to that doesn't work, that hasn't
Yes.
been working.
Yes, because, and here's the thing, okay? I love that you brought in faith. Here's my thing. I have faith in nothing. I have faith in nothing. Here's what I have. If it's true, it feels better immediately.
Yes.
If it's not true, it feels worse immediately. You do not have to have faith. You do not have to believe in anything. Because the second you let go of having to know how it's all going to work, what the right answer is, the whole journey, because here's the other thing that we're all hoping for, right? We all want the answer, the diet that's going to fix me,
right?
The healing modality, the session, the drug trip that awakens me to reality, the. Okay, no, there isn't a the. But, because again, big thing here. You do not have to get to the end before you stop feeling pain.
Yes.
Okay? This, if I can be a messenger for anything, it's that when you're on the path, it starts to feel good immediately. It's not going to feel 100% better. You're not going to feel from 0 to 1,000. You're going to feel 1 or 2% better. And then you're going to know, okay, well, look, that's something.
Yes.
I feel better than I felt in a long time.
And it really
right? So when we
start with that softening and that relaxing, because I
Yes.
think that I will talk to people who have listened to podcast episodes, or maybe they've heard things that I've said, and they're like, well, I'm listening to my body, and I know you say that it's on my side, and so I'm asking, like, what is wrong, what is wrong, what is
Yeah.
wrong? And that's like, we're not going to beat it out of the body. It's not
Well,
going to come from a stressed interrogation situation.
I would even say you're asking the body what is wrong, and the body is saying you're in the wrong relationship. And you're like, yeah, but what am I eating that's wrong? And the body's like, you're in the wrong relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, sure, so how do I adjust my diet so that I don't feel like this?
Yep.
And the body's like, break up with your boyfriend. And you're like, yeah, but what do I eat? You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
This is what this surrender is. It's, you got to understand that it might not be what you know right now, and the answer that you get might be a totally different answer than the one you think it should be. So when we let go, we're not really letting go.
Mm-hmm.
What we're letting go of is our assumptions, right? Our assumptions aren't working. We have to be humble and just say, look, I've done everything I know to do. It hasn't worked. Clearly, I am incorrect. And that's okay. I'm allowed to be incorrect. The whole point of this life journey is to learn along the way. Okay, so like, even this mindset that you should already have things figured out, then what would be the point of you being here? If we weren't here to learn, if we weren't here to have a firsthand experience of things we don't know, what would be the point of life? Right? And again, not having all the answers doesn't equal I'm in pain all the time.
Right.
Okay? So again, I really want to make this clear. I sat there and I said, I don't freaking know. And I gave up. But I didn't give up in the sense of like, fuck it, I'm just fuck it. Right? That was not the attitude. The attitude was, I'm going to start to honor myself as I am right now. Right? Because a huge part of what we're all doing when we're in pain is saying, I am not worthy of my own love, of my own compassion, of softness, of being taken care of being nourished or nurtured or like cared for in any way until my pain goes away. And this is literally like saying, I am not going to water this flower until it grows. Right. Okay. So what actually happened in that moment of quote unquote surrender was I said, I'm going to stop beating myself up and pushing myself and forcing myself to do these things and just looking at myself like a broken piece of shit, right? Who's unworthy of rest or love or compassion or actual listening to until I'm better.
Right.
And I just said, okay, what if I was already better? What if I'm in my perfect body? And this is something that I know a lot of people have a really hard time with when I explain this part of my story, because we are like, oh, good. So she was trying to manifest her body. Mm-hmm. No. Okay. I had completely given up on the idea that I would ever have my ideal body. That's not what I was doing. Okay. So I would visualize having my ideal body just as a way of connecting with that feeling of being worthy of love.
Yes.
That's all it was. Because like to sit there and say, okay, what does it feel like to feel worthy of love? Well, you can't conjure that up, right? You feel so fundamentally unworthy of love. You have all these rules why you're not worthy of love, why you're not worthy of softness, why you need to go do a workout instead of sit and journal, why you need to go harder on your diet instead of softer, right? Like all this shit. So I imagined having my ideal body just to connect with that feeling of worthiness. Because in my mind, right, and this is something we all do, I'm not worthy of love and all these things until I'm better. Right. So what I started to do was just, okay, connect with that feeling of what it feels like to actually love, be worthy of love. And then I said, okay, from that feeling place, right here, right now in this body, what do I want to do?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was like, well, I definitely don't want to fucking go to the gym. I don't want to do any more of these 4-hour workouts. I don't want to starve myself anymore. This feels like shit. And there are certain foods that I haven't been letting myself eat that I want to eat. There are certain foods that I'm making myself eat that I don't want to eat. And if I were already perfect, I wouldn't do those things. I would just do what I want to do. But again, not from a place of fuck it, I'm just going to do whatever I want, but from a place like this is actually taking care of my body.
Yes, and I'll add to that because this is definitely a route that I went down many years ago where I would try and visualize the perfect body and then be like, okay, what's it take to get to that perfect body?
Yes.
And then go right back to the ideal diet. Like, well, if I were that thin, I'd be eating this, 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 and this, which was essentially the same thing I'd already been doing.
Exactly. So again, it wasn't visualize perfect body, then figure out what I would be doing in that perfect body right now. Right? It was from that feeling place of having that.
Yes.
How would I make my decisions? That's what it was. From that feeling place, how would I make my decisions? Not what am I doing in that physical body? How would I be making my decisions? So when I craved something, right? Like that's what I thought in my head. I was like, well, if I'm in my ideal body and my body craves something, I'm going to eat it because I trust my body. So that's what I started doing, right? So I started introducing things into my diet that were less clean than this clean, perfect diet, right? Some of these things. I had this like really weird way that I wanted to eat. And it wasn't following anyone's diet. It was like this totally unique thing to me that I just like made up, listening to my body. And lo and behold, for the first time in my entire freaking life, I started to feel better. I'm making up all these weirdo things, just following my body, like actually following my body, right? So not, what do I feel like eating? Pizza? Yeah, great. No, first tune in.
Yes. Tune
in to this worthy, I'm already acceptable. I'm not running. I'm not trying to fix something. I'm not running away from myself or my life. Right? I'm not just going from this pain to an immediate pleasure. Because that's, I think, a lot of the time what people really mean when they say they're listening to their body.
Yes.
Is they mean I'm in pain in my life and this thing is going to make me feel better for 5 minutes. So I'm listening to my body. I said, no, you're not listening to your body. That's your body saying there's pain in your life, right? There's something you need to look at here. And so you're saying, I don't want to.
Right. And as you were doing this, did you experience those sorts of cravings where like, oh, this sounds really good, this would make me feel better in this moment? Or once you were tapped into that feeling of worthiness, you really were craving something that actually served you?
Yes. Once I was tapped into the feeling of worthiness, it became monumentally clear. Anytime I was going for something to numb myself out or to try to fix myself versus actually feeling good. The palpable difference between eating from a place of I'm just taking care of myself right now, I'm honoring myself, this is what my body actually needs right now, like the feeling of relaxation and the feeling of nourishment and the feeling of this is just right. Even if it doesn't, like I say, it didn't heal all my symptoms overnight. Right. I still had pain after eating. I still had all these things, but less. Like if I can just put it that way. And when I would,
enough for you to know, like, this is my next step, like tiny improvement. Like you said, it might not be 100% better, but this is 1% better or 5% better.
Mm-hmm. And truly, like I said, there was no faith involved.
Yes.
There was no belief. And I didn't even have to wait for results. I felt better immediately. Like that's what you're going to realize is that when you start to move from a place of self-love, nothing has to change about what's physically going on for you right now for you to feel better. You're going to feel relief.
Yes.
Right? Like literally think of it like You've been whipping yourself. You've got scars all over your back. Those are not going to heal immediately. But are you going to feel better the second you stop whipping yourself?
Yes.
Absolutely. Right? And then every day you don't whip yourself and you put on some cream, you're going to feel a little bit better. And you're not going to have to wonder, is this working? You will know it's working because evidence.
Yes.
Right? So here's the thing. That's why I say there is no wait till you get to the end and then you'll feel better. There is no end. But that doesn't mean you'll never feel better. It means you can start to feel better right now. You know you're heading on the right path because it feels better. And so if we're willing to accept better, good, right? Better is good. I don't need perfect. I'm willing to take a journey of learning. This whole thing is amazing, right? It's just that when we're unwilling to learn, that's really what this bottom line is. We just want the answer right here, right now. And this is part of our quick fix, immediate gratification mentality that we have to mature past. It's gonna be a journey. And if you're not willing for it to be a journey, not a journey that's going to be super, super painful until you get to the end, remember this, but a journey. You're not going to have the whole picture today. You're not going to have the whole picture ever. But that can start to become exciting.
Yes.
When it's like, I'm just moving from better to better to better to better to better.
Yes.
So this is the thing.
Back to something that you said. Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't want you to lose that thought.
Yeah, I just want to say, you couldn't pay me to go back to where I was 5 years ago.
Right.
Because now is so much better. But 5 years ago, I would have told you I have it.
Yes.
This is bliss. This is everything. Because I felt that much better.
Yes.
I didn't know I could feel like this, how I feel now. I didn't know where I'm at right now was even possible. I did not think that I would ever have a moment where my colon wasn't inflamed and like know what that felt like. Because I didn't even know that was happening. So this is the other thing, right? Like I wasn't even aware of all the things that were going wrong with me. So right? It's this idea that like, you don't have to have anything freaking figured out. Okay? All you have to be willing to do is the next thing that feels better. So over the last 6 years, 7 years, I have healed every day. I have literally moved myself to somewhere that like no one in my family, no one that I even know is physically where I'm at. And I started way behind everyone else. I didn't even have like the strong youth genetics on my side, right? I was sick from day one, and I'm now in better health than pretty much anyone that I know.
And does your family look at this and think this is extraordinary? Do they just think you're a weirdo? Do they think you're lucky? Do they have any idea?
Yeah, I think it's kind of all of those things.
Yeah. Well, going back to what I wanted to touch on something you said earlier about how reality is never in our way or blocking us.
Yes.
I want to pull that back just to the food piece because
Yes.
we talk a lot about binge eating and emotional eating and overeating and how it very much feels when we are struggling with that is in our way, that is our block, that is our problem.
Yes.
What is your take on that?
No, that is not your block. That is not your problem. There is nothing wrong with you. Okay. Again, we have to understand now because, and I'm going to bring this back to sort of the cleansing world a little bit. Okay. We live in a crazy ass world. And if anyone out there is wanting to say, no, we don't, I kind of would question your sanity, right? The sheer amount of chemicals you breathe in when you step outside in a city. If we were in our philosophically ideal human bodies that had made no adaptations, because again, we have to remember this, okay? When I say disease, right? Cancer, diabetes, heart disease, blah, 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 blah. What I'm really saying is that is what the body did to adapt to unideal circumstances to avoid death. Okay, so first and foremost, let's totally change our opinion and our view on what a dis-ease is. Okay, when you get heart disease, the body did not fuck up. The environment is fucked up. And the body said, we're going to put the plaque in the arteries, right? Because we have nowhere else to put it. If we let it just float around the bloodstream, it doesn't collect anywhere, it doesn't do anything. That's going to kill you way faster than if we just put it somewhere, right? Eventually, you keep eating that way, you keep doing the things that lead to buildup of plaque in your arteries. Eventually, it blocks your artery, right? But if the body just let it float around, you'd have a stroke immediately, because that's what a stroke is, right? When these blood clots or these plaque get in the brain and block your brain. Okay, if the body wasn't storing that plaque, you would die immediately. So the body adapted to unideal circumstances and it kept you alive longer. Does this make sense to everybody?
Totally different perspective than the we humans are fucked up. We fucked ourselves up. Everything's wrong. We've got to fix this.
No, the environment is fucked up. The way we're living is fucked up. But I don't even like the word fucked up because we're learning so much from this. Right. If we had never done this, we'd have no idea how the human body works, right? It's to me, this is breaking reality apart in order to understand reality. And that's how we learn about stuff, right? If we want to learn how a machine works, what do? We take it apart. If we want to learn how the human body works, what do? We take it apart, right? We break it all down, look at the individual component parts, put it all back together, realize how things all work together, and then we understand. Okay, so we're right now, as a humanity, in the middle of the autopsy. And so think about it again. If you were to walk in on an autopsy, a body that's all taken apart, splayed on the table, are you going to think, oh, cool? Are you going to think, oh my God, what a huge mess?
Right.
Right? Of course, you're going to think, oh my God, what a huge mess. But that's short-sighted. Okay? We as a humanity are finding out about ourselves through this. Without this complete breaking ourselves down, going against how things work, because we don't know how things work. So like taking kind of that message that we had at the very beginning of the podcast and blowing it out to like humanity at large, we did not rebel from ourselves on purpose, knowing how we worked and just going in another direction. Mm-hmm. Everything that we've done that's breaking ourselves down, we've done because we didn't know it was going to break us down. We didn't know it wasn't the right thing. We're learning, right? We are not intentionally obtuse and just hurting ourselves for no reason. Right. We're doing it because it's the only thing we know to do. We didn't know, right? Like a young child that puts their hand on a burner isn't doing it because it knows it's going to burn itself and it just wants to burn itself. It doesn't know. It doesn't understand that the burner is hot, right? It looks at the burner. It looks at the rest of the counter. It doesn't know that there's a difference between those two things. I can put my hand on this part of the counter and it's fine. I put my hand on that kind of part of the counter. It burns me. I don't get it. I'm going to do that a couple of times until I learn, oh, there's a difference between the counter and the burner, right? That's how we learn. That's how we get to know better. We hurt ourselves. Right. So if we're doing things that hurt ourselves, again, we're not doing it intentionally. Even if at this point it feels like you do know better and you're still just doing it, that's most likely, again, because you won't surrender to the fact that there could be something else. Yes. This is the thing you have right now that helps you feel some control, a little bit less pain than usual, right? The binge works for a little bit. Without the binge, you just have your pain. So there's that. Okay, but second thing, like I said, the the way that our human bodies have had to adapt to survive the environment that we live in means we try and go on these super healthy, super clean, super philosophically true diets, our bodies are going to rebel. Why? Because it will kill us to do that. Number one, your body is storing toxins in your fat cells to protect you. Okay? This is why we're starting to have studies come out that people with higher BMIs live longer than people with lower BMIs, all things equal. Right. So like not cleansing, not doing healing work, just, right? We're all living the standard Western lifestyle. People who are good storers of their toxins live longer. Why? Because they're out of circulation in the bloodstream, right? When we are bombarded with toxin, which every single human being who is living in a Western world is, toxins the body was never designed to deal with, right? The body did not come with a mechanism to deal with car exhaust. We invented that. The body doesn't know what to do with that. That's a toxic thing, as in it impedes the body's capacity to operate at vital level. The body makes an adaptation. It takes those toxins and it stores them in your fat cells. And that is a good thing, because if it didn't do that, right, it leaves it circulating in the bloodstream. You know, we all talk about free radicals, like these things that are in our bloodstream that are causing damage to our cells and tissues. Yeah, where do you think those things come from? Right? They're not just magical free radicals floating around the air. It's car exhaust. It's the chemicals in your cleaners. It's the whatever you got exposed to, the radiation from your Wi-Fi, right? Like this world where we're being bombarded with all this shit. The body stores it. And we have to understand, though, that this is still causing organ damage, right? Organ and cell and tissue damage all along the way. The storage of it still hurts us. It coming into our bodies, it still hurts us. Now, this is not to say that we have to live in a hazmat suit for the rest of our lives. This is not what this is. But it's just to say that then when we try and go on these like perfectly clean, philosophical, vegetarian, vegan, vegetarian diets, the body is going to say, no, we can't do that. Because what these things do, what these diets do, is they stir up the toxins that are stored in our system, and they start to get them ready to be processed and moved out of the body. But when we have such weakened organs, which we do from such high levels of crazy toxic exposure for our entire lives, and having been handed bodies that for centuries, right? Like we have to think, when was the last time human beings were in an environment that was suitable for their thriving? Meaning we're living in the jungle, right?
Right. Very long time.
Very, 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 very long time ago. Your body has made so many adaptations all throughout the generations so that you can survive this. Like, we have to understand this. Our diseases are what is keeping us alive right now. They are not what's hindering us. Yeah. And if we can just start to wrap our minds around that, this is not the body gone wrong. This is the body saying, okay, if this is the environment you're going to give me, here are the adaptations I have to make in order to survive this, right? So when we go on these extreme diets, we're saying to the body, okay, flush all this stuff out. Start to act like you would if we were in the jungle. And the body's going to say, absolutely not, because that will kill you. Is this making sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope that you tie it in too to how we can think that as we maybe go into these clean diets and these cleansing lifestyles and we end up binging or eating emotionally or eating off our plan and we think it's self-sabotage, how it might actually be something else.
It's absolutely not. Okay, so yes. So again, right, we go on these clean diets. We're stirring up all this toxin. That's number one. Okay, so again, toxin the body was never designed to deal with. So big burden on the body to try to get these toxins out of the body, right? If you've ever looked at phase 1 and phase 2 detox of the liver, first thing it has to do is it takes a toxin and it removes all the buffer molecules. So what the body does when it takes in a toxin it can't handle and like eliminate is it puts a buffer molecule on it, which makes it less toxic, and then it stores it somewhere, usually in your fat cells if you're healthy, right? If you're less lucky, it'll store it near your organs, right? And this is why they say like fat around the tummy is so much worse for you than fat on your hips and thighs, because fat around the tummy is toxins close to your organs, which means even though it's stored in your tissues, it's still leaking into the bloodstream, right? And it's circulating around your organs, causing damage, free radical damage. Yes? When we store them out in our hips and thighs, and in our arms, and in our butts, it's far away from our organs. It's causing less damage. Does this make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay, so first we have to understand the fat is not just fat. It's not just I ate too many calories. Because I think every woman, every person who's listening to this podcast has had a time in their life where they were eating so much less than the calories they were burning. They should have disappeared. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it didn't, and that's not what happened. They gained weight. Right? What the hell? The law of thermodynamics just doesn't work, or my metabolism is broken.
Yeah.
No. Your body was storing what you were taking in because it had no way of getting it out. So it attaches a buffer molecule, stores it away in your cells. And then when we detox or we cleanse or we lose weight, we do any of these things, what we're really doing is we're flushing our fat cells. And when we flush our fat cells, we flush all those toxins that are stored in our fat cells into our bloodstream. And then the liver and the kidneys and the lungs have to process that. Okay, so, and that is a big job. And most of the time, it's too big of a job. The body can't get it out. So then it says, okay, we have to slow down this detox. We cannot be flushing all of this from the cells right now. We can't handle that. Because if this keeps happening, right, all these toxins that we can't actually deal with just circulate, cause all this damage, we die. Literally, we make ourselves sicker. This is why anytime someone's gone on a diet and then they fall off of it, quote unquote, and then they gain more weight back after the diet is over than they lost, is not because you slowed your metabolism down, okay? They've done studies. Metabolism slows down literally when you're in a state where you have such little body fat, you're running on your essential fat. Like that's when we go into starvation. Starvation is not a caloric thing. Starvation is you've lost so much body fat that your body is running on essential fat to keep you alive because you're eating so little. Okay, so you can be, if you're 300 pounds, you can eat no food and not go into starvation because your body has some stored energy to work off of. Okay, so that's not what slows your metabolism down. And then again, as you lose weight, it just simply costs less energy to keep you functioning than it did when you're bigger weight or higher weight. So again, it's not your metabolism slowing down, it's your metabolism matching, right? Your metabolic rate, how much energy it takes to keep you alive, matches how many cells in your body has to run, right? Fewer cells, less energy. It's not a slowing of the metabolism,
right,
in the way that we think of it. So we go on these extreme diets, we lose weight for a little while, we binge, because yes, the body says, shut down this detox, we can't do this. But in the process of doing that extreme diet, you caused even more damage to your cells and tissues, which means they have an even less, a less capacity, a lowered capacity to process toxins, which means the next time you take in something toxic, where before you damage your organs with that diet, yes, it could process and eliminate 30%. So you only stored 70. Now you did damage, your liver can't handle it, you're going to store 90%. This is why you gain more weight afterwards. It's not because your metabolism slowed down. Your metabolism will restore itself after normal eating from starvation, actual starvation, within 2 weeks. Right? And I don't think that any of us are actually there.
Not just weight, but would you say this is also why a lot of people who get into this heavy cleansing stuff are very like fruitarian sorts of diets, and they're not aware of all of this? They end up also looking very sickly, like the body's also getting weaker as it's trying to eliminate this stuff and it's not able to.
Exactly. And then the binges that happen when all these fruitarians go and eat a hamburger because their body's trying to save their life.
Yes.
So this is, again, if we can start to shift, this is what's philosophically correct and my body's just wrong, to know, what if what is philosophically correct is completely, relatively incorrect for me in this human body, in this human life, right here, right now?
Yes.
And my going and binging is actually my body saving my life right now. Again, we have so much less resistance to the binge, and you can learn something from that. Yeah. So it's not to say you're going to binge for the rest of your life, but it will mean you won't go on such an extreme diet next time.
Right. And that's not to say that we're like, I've had loads of colon hydrotherapists and vegans and people in the healing space, and they've brought so much educational, amazing wisdom to the show. And so there's lots of hope. We're not saying like, oh, you just shouldn't do this at all, whatever. It's
no.
slow and listen. And your body's on your side, including your emotional symptoms.
Yes.
Which is what
yes. So like, if you're going to ask me, I am now eating that perfectly clean diet that I wanted to eat 7 years ago with no effort now. And here's the thing, that this is how you know it's the right next thing for you. You don't have to try.
Yes.
When you're really listening, eating healthy is going to start to be something that you just do. Because you're not trying to become something. You're not trying to get somewhere you're not supposed to be right now and couldn't be right now. You're actually just saying, okay, no, what does my actual body need right now? And for some of us, that's just going to be potato chips with a salad on the side. And that's going to be good enough.
Yes.
But you keep doing that. One day, you're going to say, I would rather just have some baked potatoes instead of potato chips. And you're just going to know that. And you're going to want to do that. That's what's going to seem and feel and taste the best to you.
Yes.
And this is what I really want to say, right? There are things that I ate 5 years ago that were like so what I needed that I would never eat now. And not because I have a fear of them or it's literally just, those things wouldn't work for me now.
Right.
They don't taste good. I don't want to. I am putting forth absolutely no effort. So if anyone asks me, do I ever listen to my cravings? 100% of the time.
Yes.
It is my cravings that tell me exactly what I should be eating. I never deny a craving. I want to say that again. I never deny a craving.
Yes.
And I have healed.
Yes.
And I don't binge. And all of my cravings are for, like, I crave things that most people force themselves to eat to be healthy.
Yes, just very simple foods.
But like, let's put this again, right? Like, you're going to start to realize that when you're really doing this, the foods you love, the foods you crave, and the foods that make you feel good are all the same foods. Your body is on your side. It just knows how to do this. And it's more complicated than we want it to be. But again, right? So there's that initial reality slap. This is more complicated than I wanted it to be. This is going to be a journey. I'm not going to find the diet. It's going to be this constantly evolving thing. Okay, but again, what are you making that mean? That's not true. Because if that feels terrible to you, then you're making it mean something that it doesn't mean.
Yes.
Right? So what most of us are making it mean is that it's going to be hard and confusing. And how am I going to figure this out?
Right.
And I'm not going to feel better till I get to the end, the perfect diet. But neither of those two things are true. You're going to start to feel better right away. That's how you'll know you're doing it right, not doing it right. That's how you'll know you're on the beneficial path, right? So we let go of right and wrong in exchange for what is beneficial right now. And I'll know it's beneficial because it'll feel good.
Yes.
Right? Now, it won't feel perfect. It won't feel like the be all end all. It won't feel like I have no more symptoms or I'm at my dream weight today or whatever. It'll feel like I'm taking care of myself. I'm just taking care of myself. This feels like nourishment to me.
Yes.
And when I just want to say, the diet rules and the diet police will still be in your head.
For sure.
You're going to hear that voice. You can't eat fries and be better. You're not going to heal doing this. You're not going to get thin doing this. You're going to be fat forever if you eat like this. You're going to hear those voices. And so just know, okay, be prepared for that. That's going to happen. And then what you do in that moment is, again, you recenter yourself on I am worthy of love right here, right now. What is nourishing for me in this body right here, right now? That's it. That's all I have to know. And sometimes it's going to be French fries. Sometimes it's going to be baked fries. Sometimes it's going to be an apple. And you just have to start to feel that. Okay, so that's why I say, don't trust it. Don't have faith. Feel it. If it feels better, follow that. If it feels worse, follow that. If it feels better for a minute, then feels worse, follow that. Let everything be information. Make your own body your lab. And then how this ties into everything. You're going to start to see that not only can you follow your body's sensations and your emotional sensations for how to figure out what to eat, but this will permeate your entire life. Learning this is how you learn to be an intuitive person who knows what's right for them in the next thing to do in your life. You will start to get the message. All right? What should I eat for lunch today? Break up with my boyfriend. Okay. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
It will start to, you're going to start to see that this is all one thing.
Yes.
You learn to listen to your body for what you need to eat. Your body will tell you when to leave a job or to start a job or what to go for, what to do, what not to do. Because the sensation of following, nourishing yourself with food is the exact same sensation of nourishing yourself with the right job or leaving the wrong relationship or moving, right? Like when I got my job with the first job that I got that was online, it felt like what eating watermelon felt like at the time. Just like the right thing to do. It felt like it all feels the same. Mm-hmm. This is the next step on my path. Feels like this is the next thing to eat.
Yes.
It's all the same feeling. So really this path that you're being called to just start with, how do I nourish myself? How do I take care of myself? What does it feel like to move from I'm good enough already and I just want to take care of myself? When we learn this in the body, this is just training ground for life skills.
Yes.
You'll know you're on your right path. Again, in life, in general, you won't need freaking faith in anything because you'll be able to tune into yourself and feel, yeah, no, this feels right. So even if it's totally crazy and chaotic and looks like the most ridiculous choice in the world, you'll know it's the right one. right? Like I got myself to this life that I'm living where I run my own company, I travel the world, I'm in a relationship that's not like my parents' relationship. Like I have all these things that coming from where I came from, I had no example of how to make this work. I still don't know anyone that lives how I live, who has things figured out the way that I do. And is it because I knew all this stuff? Absolutely not. One step at a time. This feels right. This feels right.
Yes.
That is the most ridiculous choice we could make in this moment. Let's do that. Why? It feels right.
Mm-hmm.
And it all works out. So this is what I'm saying. Like at this point, I don't have faith in anything. I can trust my feelings because I've practiced for so long, trusting. Right. So again, you start to trust the binge, and you do it from a place of I'm nourishing myself right now. Is this the most nourishing thing I can do for myself? Yeah, that's what I want to do. Now, okay, right? So I binged. Was that because I was dieting too hard? Was that because I have no skills for communicating what I really want? So I'm stuffing it down and the binge felt better than talking? Right? And we'll get to a place where you'll start to feel like you want to talk instead of binge.
Yes.
Slowly, as you make room for all this stuff.
Yes.
Okay, do you feel like I'm encapsulating this?
Perfectly. So
Okay.
perfectly. And I think I'll even tie it up here because this was so useful.
Yeah.
And I love that we started with the, at the beginning of your journey, you might not feel like all of these pieces do connect. And maybe it feels like my body's over here and my emotions are over there, and this is good, but that is bad.
Yeah.
But you'll get to the point where everything is going to sort of feel that same way. Like, this feels good. I can follow this next step. And there's going to be more ease and more flow. And thank you for making sense a bit more of the physical stuff. And if anybody is curious about this, if this was a nice taster, Aliyah has her mystery school, which has been going amazing. And that dives a lot of her videos a bit more into the physical side of this, intertwined beautifully with the mental and emotional and spiritual work. And she's taken it in a way that I have never seen before. And you've heard all of the colon hydrotherapists and the detox folks that I've had on here. Like, this work has been so important to me. And there's nobody that does it like Aliyah. So yes, go ahead.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say that, like, these are tools for life. What you're going through right now, what your body and your mind and your spirit are asking you to do, yeah, it's complicated. Okay, it's not as easy as just get on the right diet. This diet changed my life. That's it. That's all for the rest of my life.
Right.
And that's okay, because that's it. That's all for the rest of my life doesn't exist. You're always going to be learning, growing, changing, evolving, and expanding. Everything is going to be changing in your life, right? Like everyone who's listening to this podcast, your life is not the same today as it was 5 years ago. Things have changed. So if we can get on board with, like, this is how reality works. It always changes, but that doesn't have to be a horrible, terrible, negative thing. That can be, we're just always learning and growing and expanding into something new. And that makes life exciting. Then if we can find these tools, like these inner resources for navigating the changes of life, we can know, like, right, how do you know you're on the right path? You don't know because you're following the rules. You know because it feels right.
Yes.
And you're getting the results to prove it. Like, again, it's not so esoteric as it just feels right. It feels right, but also you're getting results.
Yes.
Right. And that's always my check-in. I don't ever just want to be like, yeah, but it just feels good. Okay, but still grounded in reality. It feels good, sure, but what are the results?
Right. And I think that that's the difference between right and good, because often, like, you might pick up the diet book and it feels really exciting and racy and like, oh my God, this is going to change my life. And that kind of high feels good, but that doesn't necessarily feel right if you look at your history and your experience and what reality has been teaching you up until this point, if you've been on the diet and off the diet. So is that the distinction that you're making there between right and good?
Okay. And I think I want to say that too before we end. Okay. The right feeling is never going to feel like a racy high.
Yes.
It just doesn't. It's grounded. It feels like, okay, yeah. Like there can be an excitement to it, and like, ooh, new territory. I've never been here before. Wow, that's fun and exciting. But it's never going to feel like, right? That manicness,
Yep.
that's not it. We kind of have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
That the right feeling is going to feel grounded.
Yes.
And just like, yeah, solid. I think that's more what I like to say. And like I say, it's going to be faint in the beginning. It's not going to, this is something you develop. Okay. So just be willing to be on a journey with this. You're going to only be able to eat in alignment with what is actually nourishing for you 1 out of 10 times when you first start. Because the ingrained, this, I just want to fix my body, I hate feeling this way, blah, 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 is so ingrained. Okay. Again, if we can be willing to be on a journey, this will be the most exciting and amazing thing you've ever done. If you're willing to let go of needing to be at the end right now and just being so interested in how this is all going to go and just being curious for how this is all going to go and kind of letting go of the results, like I said, and that is easier to do when you can start to feel like you can love yourself right now. Right? Like so much of this is you're going to realize the reason where you are is so painful is not because of any circumstance. It's because you're saying, I am unworthy of love where I am right now. I won't nourish myself. I won't treat myself. I won't be nice to me. And even when I do, I'm doing it because I'm hoping it's going to change who I am. Right? Like I'll take the bubble bath because I know that's good for me. And maybe that'll help me lose weight because then I'm not so stressed.
Right.
Instead of, I just really want to take a freaking bubble bath. It's so different, right? Very different.
Absolutely.
But when you just start on this, you'll get addicted to the feeling of taking care of yourself, of really actually being loving to yourself. And you will start to realize that so much of the things that are so painful for you right now aren't actually that bad. That's the first thing. Your body may not change or heal, but really it's going to stop being so painful to be in your body. Because you will be able to say, I'm still worthy of love. And you'll actually act on that, right? You'll actually be loving yourself, not just saying it in your head, but like, okay, no, I'm not going to do that hard workout today. I'm going to do yoga instead because that feels nice. It'll start to be this. And then all of a sudden, all the other things in your life where you're not listening to yourself become so blaringly obvious that you have to do something about it. And sometimes it does, again, feel like your feelings hijack you. Like I still have that sometimes where I'm like, man, I wish I could just be a normal person and just like go to the movies and be fine with it. But my feelings are like, no, we're not going to sit. We can't sit here and do this. And that's okay. Right. Like we like, again, I know there are going to be things in reality that are like, man, that's a fucking bummer. But eventually you'll see that it isn't. So that's all I want to say.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
To begin with, how amazing this was. I'm really excited because I always tie up the podcast with this question. And even though I've had you before, it was before the podcast. And so I haven't gotten to ask you. The name of the podcast being Free Spirit Academy. And I define a free spirit as just you when you get to be yourself. What does that term mean to you, or what sort of vision does it conjure up in your mind?
Yes. To me, being a free spirit means I know that this is a path of continual growth. I'm never going to get there. There is no end. And I can have fun. Because learning something new doesn't mean I was wrong before. Being where I am doesn't mean off in the future is so much better and I'm doing it wrong to be where I am. That where I was wrong compared to where I am now. It's just that everything has its time and place. It's all, is this beneficial or not? And so it's really this unburdening of doing it right and doing it wrong. And just being able to say, no, I'm just learning. I'm just having a good time learning. Sometimes I'm having a terrible time learning, but I'm just learning and I'm worthy of love no matter if I'm having a good time or a terrible time, if I'm learning something or if I'm mastering something, it doesn't really matter, because the point is I'm learning. I'm here. I'm doing it. And that's what makes me worthy of love. I exist.
Thank you. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation. For more on food and body freedom, get my free ebook, The Eat to Feel Good Diet, by signing up for newsletter updates at freespirit-academy.com. I will be back with you next week.